Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 101 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is found in all the lakes and streams that you can imagine, especially in the US. There is a huge misconception about this fish, however, so let's make sure that we educate some people today. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is bam, the western mosquito fish. Now, the western mosquito fish, or scientific name Gambusia affinis, again that is Gambusia affinis or Gambusia affinis, it is part of the family Poecilidae, which is the family of live bearers. Now, not all Poecilids, live bearers, are actually live-bearing fish. Poecilidae has two different, three different subfamilies, and there's a bunch of the African species that are actually egg layers, but they're still lumped in Poecilidae. So all of the American species of Poecilids are some type of live bearer anyway. So we'll stick with the live bearers anyway. It is native to the eastern US, all the way down to east northern Mexico, so along those Gulf Atlantic drainages. But I have a map here that shows you they have been introduced everywhere in the world. I mean everywhere. Russia, Canada, that's still US. Mexico, well, they're supposed to be in Mexico. Darn it. But you have Africa. I know there's some in Australia as well. I'm not sure why it's not on the map. These islands. Not sure what they are, but I need to go back and do some geography. Anyway, they're found everywhere. They've been introduced everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, they are a small fish. If you've seen these before, you probably have. If you've spent any time collecting little minnows in the back pond, which by the way, those are not all of them are minnows. People have a misconception that minnows are baby fish. It's not true. But chances are you've seen this, and they're pretty popular in pet stores, things like that. But anyway, they have this dull gray kind of colorish. Sometimes you get spots here. They don't always have these spots. They'll have a silver belly. You can see here they have this little dark stripe underneath the eye. You know, not always though. You can see here. But they have this flatter back with an upturned mouth, and then they have what I call this herringbone pattern, meaning that the scales are kind of outlined. You got dark outlines, light scales. And then they have these rounded fins. All their fins are pretty rounded. Then, kind of lastly for both sexes, is they have this upturned mouth, really feeding on that upper column. So feeding on the top of the water, being able to pick up, looking up, really up water. And they hang out in the top water. They don't really spend an incredible amount of time down low. They're really kind of staying up across the top. Now, to tell females to males, first off, females are significantly larger, as you can see here, and then females also have this really big abdomen. Granted, this is a little bigger than normal, so she might be pregnant. But something else to note is that females have this really dark spot back here, which is called a gravid spot. Now, max length for a female is about 7 centimeters, 2.75 inches. That's a massive mosquito fish. For males, max length of about 4 centimeters, which is about 1.5, 1.6 inches. Yeah, there's another characteristic, but that's for the interesting fact. So stick to the end of the video. They are a controversial species. They really are. They have this reputation as mosquito control pests, mosquito control agents. It has been stalked indiscriminately. I mean, you saw this map. They've been stalked everywhere in the world. Tropical areas, non-tropical areas, you know, cold areas. Like, they've been stalked everywhere. In the US, they started being stalked around 1903, 1905. Hawaii got theirs introduced in 1905. So yeah, they've been done for hundreds of years, but recently, and when I say recent, like 30-40 years, it was discovered that, well, not discovered, it was a complete flop. These things do not, besides their common name, they don't really like control mosquito. The thing is these fish really like eating larvae, and there was a misconception that if you put them in there, they would eat all the mosquito larvae in like ponds and everything, and that would control the mosquito populations. They're not that effective. They're not really effective in reducing mosquito populations, or really in reducing anything mosquito-borne diseases and things like that. They're really destructive in like the Western Americas, where you have all these really small ponds and endemic species that these mosquito fish outcompete. They're just more voracious. They're actually pretty voracious predators, and they can breed really, really fast. So they'll just eliminate a lot of native fish, and they've actually been attributed to the endangerment of a bunch of damselflies in Hawaii, because damselflies actually have a small larval, not a small, but a small aquatic larva stage, and mosquito fish love eating those, so they've been led to that. So they're pretty voracious and they're pretty bad. However, there is some places where they did seem to be successful. Mosquito fish are considered by some countries to be the reason why malaria was eradicated, especially in like South America, Ukraine, Russia, which Ukraine and Russia, I believe they're actually considered pests now, and you know, I think in Ukraine they're considered invasive, but I'm not sure. I know in Australia they are considered a noxious species and you're supposed to get rid of them. But Russia is so thankful for the mosquito fish, they actually have a monument to honoring it, because they attribute the eradication of malaria for the region to the western mosquito fish. So that's why I'm saying there's a lot of controversy on this, and mosquito fish are still employed for mosquito control. For, you know, like California, you can get free mosquito fish for little personal ponds, like your backyard ponds and everything. You can't put them in the, you know, the rivers or things like that. There are better things, I think, for controlling mosquito populations, personally, but we'll go from there. Now, if you remember, I said there was one other aspect that you could tell, how you could tell females and males apart. And if you looked at the pictures, you might have seen it. The interesting fact for this video that we're going to talk about is a little bit about their reproduction, but more importantly, about this right here. So males have this gonopodium, is what it's called. For lack of a better description, it's essentially a fish penis. Their anal fin is formed into a tube that they can distribute milt down this tube into the female. So there is actually internal fertilization. And what's interesting is that western mosquito fish are actually lecitrophic, lesotrophic. Essentially, that means that the nutrients are provided to the embryos by a yolk sac. So it's not this, you know, where the mothers supply the nutrition to the babies. It's actually, they have a yolk sac that the egg, so that's almost like internal hatching or something. I don't know. There's not really an egg, but basically, male mosquito fish. And by the way, this is why they can be so invasive. Sexual maturity is reached in about 50 days, roughly. Females can get sexually mature in 25 days, about half that time, meaning that mosquito fish can reproduce extremely rapidly and a lot. I believe most Western mosquito fish have a brood of about 50. But if you can do that multiple times per year, by the way, they don't live long. They live about 1 year, 1.5 years. But that Gonopodium is really unique. And what's even more unique is that you can tell the individual species of almost all live bears apart by the internal structures of the Gonopodium. So this right here is a close-up picture of a Gonopodium, the very tip. And it's every Gonopodium species is really unique, directly evolved to be compatible with the females of their species. Now, the differences could be incredibly subtle, such as there might be spikes here and no spikes there, or there will be 3 less scales. Like it can be really, sometimes really difficult to tell them apart, but once you know those characteristics, it's incredibly unique, and it's a very good example of adaptation so that you can exclude males from other species and only do that. This also helps the mosquito fish reproduce more successfully because if they're not laying eggs, they don't have to worry about predators on those eggs. So that's what we're going to end the interesting fact on the video on. So thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. And peace.